High tech, high quality, and a high failure rate for all who were able to afford this fan's likely overinflated price of the 1980s. What we have today is a Homestead Superfan. This is the second Superfan that I have videotaped on my channel, and the most noticeable difference between this one and the first one is the size. This one, being 52 inches, is a Stratford Superfan. The Homestead Stratford model was very much akin to that of the Whisperfan IV, to the point where it was kind of a continuation of that model, except instead of being variable speed, it was offered with two different control types, those being Comfort Flow and Superfan, the latter of which being what you see here. What the Superfan control type is you have a DC brushless stack motor in the fan, as well as a special variable speed wall control that converts the alternating current electricity coming from the source into direct current electricity or DC electricity so it can properly power the motor, as if you were to hook up the DC motor straight to AC electricity, there would be some pretty disastrous results. This fan also has a driver board inside of the motor housing that sort of acts as the command central hub of sorts and tells the fan what to do. Similar to how IntelliTouch, or in Homestead's case, Homestar, would work. It's kind of similar, but also kind of different. This fan is in polished brass with glossy oak or pecan blades. They're wood finish, that much I can tell you. And the edges of the blades are a bit chipped and frayed away, but that shouldn't be too hard to fix. Overall, the brass is in good shape with only a couple spots of tarnish here and there. And up there you can see the DC motor, which is completely sealed. And the fan does not have a canopy. When I got this fan, it came without a canopy, downrod, and wall control, but I was able to source a downrod and wall control for it. So the canopy is the only piece still missing. And some of the vent screens are missing. If you look through that one right there, you can kind of see the driver board. So that is one other thing I will likely do with this fan, is either reattach or completely redo the vent screening. Not entirely sure on the year of this fan. It may say up top. If it does, I'll check and throw it in the description, but based on the look of this fan, it is probably from 1986 at earliest and 1990 at latest. And over here you have the special wall control that converts AC power to DC power with two knobs on it, this being the rear knob here that controls the fan, and this being the front knob that turns it on and off, as well as controlling the light. And unfortunately the plastic buttons to the control are missing, but it is still usable, so I'm not complaining. And this control did not originally come with this fan. I took it off of another Superfan and am using it on here while this fan is installed. So with that, we'll go ahead and ignite power. As you can see, it does a bit of twitching before it actually knows what it wants to do. That was a rather common thing with these DC motor fans back in the day, and still can be seen with some DC fans of current day. However, it was definitely a lot worse back when the technology was in its infancy. Or in the Homestead Superfan's case, more like still a sperm. As I talked about this in the first Superfan video, but DC motor technology was really not a thing at all when Homestead was doing it in the mid-1980s. This fan control type was very ahead of its time and as impressive as it was, the technology really was not there yet, as the driver boards that these fans used are quite unreliable and prone to failure. Not many of these were sold to begin with, as I imagine due to the technology they had a pretty hefty price tag, and those that were sold oftentimes would fail and then, be replaced. So finding one of these in working order can be a bit of a challenge. Thankfully this one is still working for the most part. It is a little twitchy, and I have my suspicions that the board is flaking out a little bit, primarily because of a noise it's making, which, get up close to the motor so you can hear it. That kind of knocking, rattling sound. I'm not sure if it's the driver board directly that's causing that noise, but I feel like that might be coming from somewhere in the board or the motor. Whether or not it's to do with the reliability of the fan, I'm not sure, but it very well could be. Or it could be something else. So, in current day, Homestead Superfans are definitely not common. The Stratford is the most common Superfan type to appear, though they are definitely not that common in polished brass. Usually when a Stratford Superfan does appear, or a Superfan of any kind, usually it's antique brass, so polished brass is definitely more of a rare treat. Though definitely not as rare as white. I believe the Stratford Superfan was also offered in white, and I've never seen one in white, and I'd love to see one in white. So that's something to keep my eyes peeled for. Anyways, we'll turn the fan up a little bit. From an aesthetic low to more of a functional low. Other than that strange noise, there's no motor hum at all. Like, the motor itself is completely silent. Because again, I feel like that noise is coming from the driver board. There is a little bit of dry bearing noise, but it's hardly anything really. When I got this fan, it originally came with white blades. However, I stuck this set of glossy wood finish blades on here because I think it looks way better with the brass. Turn it up some more. It is a nice looking fan, definitely. And though the control type is weird and a bit hard to get a handle on, it's certainly ambitious, so I do give this fan major props for its look and its ambition. And up some more. Bit of a jump there in the variable speed as I didn't really turn it too much, but it did speed up a significant amount. Go up some more. And at this higher speed, there is a little bit of a wobble as the blades are kind of out of balance with one another. It's pretty easy for a fan to get out of balance when it has 6 blades, so what can you really do other than balance them? And full speed. Fan is pretty fast. Not the fastest I've seen, but it does still move pretty fast, and it is cranking out good air. Definitely on par with many of its stack motor competitors of the time. So really this fan's main draw is the control type, as the performance is just about the same as any other fan. Like, you could get a Comfort Flow Homestead Stratford probably for less than this, and it'd probably perform just the same. It just offer less speeds and, in theory, be less reliable, though in actuality probably more reliable. Nevertheless, this fan's performance is quite good. And I'll turn it off. And there you have it, a Homestead Stratford Superfan in polished brass.